All right, welcome back to the Ross Report. I want to thank our friends at MPW Properties. You know they have great locations all over Lafayette. You see those red and black MPW signs. The reason you notice them is because they're in those great locations where MPW Properties has properties, and they can make those properties available for you, whether you want it for retail or professional office space, whatever it is you want to open a new business or expand your business. They've got great locations. They want to share the information with you, and their idea is to make you successful so they can be successful. It's just kind of a win-win situation. So give them a call, 232-1438, MPW Properties. All the guys over there will be happy to help you get into the location that's going to work best for you and your business. 232-1438, mpwproperties.com. All right, so we have Andy Hebert in studio with us in the aftermath of this election. Looking forward to what the new mayor president and the two new councils are going to be facing. Before we get back to it with Andy, we've got caller Nancy. Go ahead. You're on the Ross Report.
Hi, Carol. Hi,
Hey.
Andy.
Hi, Nancy.
I just wanted to thank Andy for what he did way back then. And remember that when this happened many years ago, the public was told in radio spots and billboards and TV spots that consolidation was going to save government and save them $5 million. It didn't happen. It was never going to happen. And the 60% or more citizens for LPUA was a completely arbitrary number done by an attorney. And I think one of the things that is lacking in trying to find a correction, if there is one, and I'm beginning to believe there might not be one, to the current mess, is the attorney, whoever he or she is who wrote this, needs to be at the transition meetings trying to explain what they meant when they wrote the document that was written and voted on by the people.
Yeah, don't they always say that? Intent. Intent is very important. What was the intent? We can't
we
even
don't know
find
who
out
wrote it.
who. Exactly. That is my point exactly, Nancy. We do not know who wrote it. And couldn't get an
Thank you.
answer out of Miss Labar
Thank you,
when
Nancy.
she was here.
Well, I went to the transition meeting, and I was thinking about Andy because I thought that was the third time that I had seen the same cluster being created for our government. And we all know until Lafayette has its own mayor, like every other city in the parish, the city of Lafayette will continue to flounder. It's no one's job to look after the city. The mayor-president, by charter, is torn between the city and the parish. So it's crucial to the future of this community. And I cannot believe there's anybody running who doesn't believe that.
Good point. Very good point.
Let's hope they keep that in mind. And Nancy, you were at that meeting. What were some of the comments made? Community development. She seemed to be confused. The chief financial officer, had some questions herself about how this was going to go forward. Correct?
Yes, I think there was the process being used is the same process that was used when the former auditor George Lewis and Bruce Conk were on the commission. I think it was in 2011, the second time this was addressed. They're trying to go through and familiarize people with the roles of each department. And what struck me in community development was she gave a sample ordinance that had been presented to the Consolidated Council and indicated that she assumed, but would need legal guidance, that half the ordinance would have to be approved by the city council, and the other half would have to be approved by the parish council. So she was asked what would happen if one approved it and one didn't, and she said she had no idea. And I think that's where the city employees are. They don't have the guidance and direction that they need.
And that's critical. That's critical because they can't make up the rules as they go.
And I'm afraid that's what's going to happen. And this transition team, I think there's some great folks on it, but they can only offer suggestions. And without the guidance of whoever wrote this, standing up and explaining what the intent was, I think we're all at a loss.
Yeah, I imagine they just don't really want to take credit for it at this point in time. Yeah. You think?
Well, Nancy, you brought up a good point, because a lot of the ordinances have city and parish in them, and now they're probably going to have to actually create brand new ordinances that say city only and parish only.
And
And
Think
they'll-
some
about
of
that.
them might, as was the case in community development, the
Yeah.
example that was used, would require both councils to approve. But what happens if one approves and one doesn't approve? That's not provided for in the charter at all.
That's true.
Ay, ay, ay.
Hmm.
Okay, Nancy, go away. You're confusing me
Have a
even
great
more.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you, Nancy.
We really appreciate you.
Yeah, now she's one who was on the council
City
at the
council,
time.
yeah,
Yes,
at the time of the merger.
and
In fact, she
understood.
agreed with me in
Yes,
the
she
court
did.
documents that there was nothing to amend or abolish or repeal the city's charter.
Yeah,
Her and
exactly.
two other council members.
And exactly, they did not hold that. They did not call that election. The council
they
refused to
never
call the
did.
election because they knew
Mhm.
they could see these problems going forward, and some of us were too stupid to see it. Cajun Man, go ahead. You're on the Ross Report.
Good afternoon. It's nice to listen to humans that can think.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Cajun Man. Go ahead.
Well, Andy, I've been listening, watching Andy a number of times there in those meetings, even though I'm in Vermilion Parish. I'm like a mile into Vermilion Parish in Western Lafayette Parish. And years ago, right after your Pastor Gonzalez, I had 7 acres in Lafayette Parish, and I sold it. Now, every time the guy I sold it to, he gives me the international sign language when I pass by.
Because he's not happy.
Hmm.
Well, he's a little happier now. But
Mhm.
he wasn't. I said, hey, I didn't know that was all that was going to be a mess. I'm not that smart.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you listening.
Exactly. Thanks, Cajun
You
Man.
know, and we're all one in this area. You know, and I see us as a great area that can really do a lot and bring people to this community. But with the situation you have now, I think it's going to be difficult to do.
So, Cajun Man, you were talking about some thinking people. This is what has always bothered me. All right, we have one Acadiana that we did away with the Lafayette Chamber,
Right.
right? And we became one Acadiana, which is representing 9 parishes, something like that. Yet they were pushing for this fix the charter because they wanted supposedly, ostensibly, City of Lafayette to have more autonomy, which is turning out not to be the case. But
Yeah.
that's what I heard many of them say.
Mm-hmm.
And so it seems to me that they were at cross purposes all along. I don't know.
So
Well,
you're telling me you mean lawyers lie like that?
I think, I'll tell you what, our great Senator John Kennedy had made one of the best comments about all of this stuff. And he said, criminals obey the law the way politicians stick to the truth. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was pretty telling when he said that. Cajun Man, thanks for the call.
Thank you for calling.
Yeah. So now we get to the really thorny part.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you notice, on the eve of the election, now the online story was a little tougher. In the headline, it was Robideau fires fires interim directors of Fiber and LUS. The print edition says Robideau names new interim LUS fiber directors, LUS and fiber directors. Move related to internal review. Now, this internal review has been going on for a long time. The Public Service Commission is looking at all these things.
Oh, yeah.
So we not only have the issue of what has been done and what has been a de facto subsidization, which is illegal according to the Fair Competition Act.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the Public Service Commission is looking at it. But not only are we going to have that, but now we're having a question of governance.
Mm-hmm.
And how LUS is going to be governed going forward.
Right.
Any thoughts about that?
According to what I've read of the new charter, the fix is that the city council will have complete control over LUS. However, LUS's budget will be in the consolidated budget,
Which would be city and
so
parish.
it's city and parish. So the parish is actually going to approve the LUS budget in reality to make it go forward.
Which is even
Which is-
more involvement of the parish in the LUS
Right.
budget
Exactly.
than it was before.
Before.
Because
Mhm.
LPUA
Yeah.
would
And now-
recommend to the parish
Yeah.
first. Yeah. They would
So
have to look at it.
It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out and how they're going to do the budget and the public service and the Public Service Commission for the Lafayette utility system is now the city council. The new city council is the Public Service Commission for the Lafayette utility system. So if you
Right.
have problems with that, you don't go to the state You go to
No,
the
you
local.
got, well, and it's always been that way, though. Really,
It's always been that way, except for now fiber. Fiber is now under
fiber
the
is under the
state
Public Service Commission, which
Commission.
brings in LUS and other city departments because they have all been, well, let us say, perhaps overcharged
Yes,
for
slightly.
the for the communication services by
Mhm.
fiber in order to prop up the fiber, and that's the
Right.
contention all along.
Yeah, that's
But
the
it, but
problem.
it's that's what it's looking like. And what brought that to light was I have to give Michael Lunsford and the crew over at, well, Citizens Against Taxes at the time, but now Citizens for New Louisiana, who caught the problem with the lift station
Right.
monitoring.
Mm-hmm.
They actually caught the problem there.
Yeah, and it again, it takes people, people that really have an interest in government or an interest in their community to do the right thing and to get things straight and to make sure everybody's treated equally. And that's, it's a difficult task to do because, there are consequences. I promise you, there are consequences that you will pay.
Yeah, you've paid
And
them.
I've paid quite a few of them, and it's real fun.
Well, and
on some of
Michael
them.
has been paying it also
Yeah.
because of some of the things that he's brought out.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, part of the fun part about that is when they come after you, you said the right thing. So that's if
Yeah.
if they actually come after you personally, because I've been personally threatened by
it's really an
some people.
odd an odd couple of the progressives in the city and the big money.
Mm-hmm.
But
Well, they
the,
see that as
the ones that the deep,
economics,
yeah, exactly,
economic development.
exactly.
And yeah, there's good things about the community that a lot of the elderly people or people that have lived here can see is being good. And LUS is probably one of the best things
You
that
bet.
this area has.
And that is
And
why anybody who tries to touch it again, it is the third rail of Lafayette
Right,
politics. There is
exactly.
no doubt about that.
Mm-hmm.
But what troubles me is that one of the candidates for mayor has received a sizable donation from Bernhard Capital Partners, and that
Mm-hmm.
would be Carly Amlavar.
Right.
All right, we got to take a break. We'll be right back on the Ross Report. 232-1542. If you want to get in on the conversation, you have any questions for Andy? I'm at the point where I don't even know which questions to ask anymore. I'm so
Well.
confused. No, yeah, it's going to take a lot of goodwill going forward by the new mayor president, by the new councils. Don't go away. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the Ross Report, my friends. Yeah, we have Andy Hebert in studio trying to help all those folks who are who are coming in, the mayor, president, whoever that person is going to be, the new councils. We have 2 new councils with 5 council members each. We have all new regulations that we're going to be following.
Yeah.
All new charter amendments that have been put in place. And one of the thorniest issues is Lafayette utility system and how that governance is going to work. Because, Andy, as you've said, the budget is going to be decided by the consolidated councils, which then brings in more involvement of the parish into the governance of what is a city-owned utility system.
Right. That's right. Yeah. That's going to be one of the sticky issues is will they adopt the budget, as a whole, and then they're going to have to go back in their separate governances as a parish council and city council, and now they can pass ordinances to delete things in those budgets. That's the way I understand it.
Okay. But won't those deletions, will they not have an impact on the overall?
Yeah, they'll
budget?
definitely. Yeah, because the question is, and this has all been about the parish is broke. The parish is broke. How do you fund the parish? Well, my question was, they got a $30,000 salary for the council members. Where are they going to get the money from?
That is a good point because you're going to have 5 council members at 30,000 plus each.
Yeah.
That's $150K right there off the bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, they say something like they have an operating after all the things that they have to fund,
Yeah,
right?
mandatory.
All the
funding.
mandatory issues. They only have what, 90,000?
Yeah, they only got 90,000.
So now they're going to take that and fund the salaries of the council members, and
Plus-
they'll still fall short.
Right, and then they're going to have to split. They're going to have to decide on what percentage of the personnel for the council is going to be paid for by each entity.
Right, which is kind of what they do now.
They do that now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now you're going to have a separate council saying, wait, we don't want to pay that much, or we want to pay this much. And
It
that's gonna
seems
be
to
the-
me, it seems to me that the parish council is going to have to really look at all of those parish-wide millages. I mean, those
Yeah.
parish-wide millages are their purview, right? I mean, they're under their
Yeah,
purview.
they're under they're gonna
That's their
vote strictly for
responsibility.
those,
They're going to
right?
be the ones who are going to have to decide whether, let's say, you're going to adjust a millage. Let's say
Right.
instead of taking some money from the library
Right.
for drainage,
Mhm.
well, let's say you rededicate the create money
Yeah,
and
they
put it
could have done
either
that.
put it all towards drainage or put it
Yeah.
toward the parish budget or whatever.
Yeah.
Because
Mhm.
if you're going to start rededicating, why not that?
Yeah. Look at all the millages and the cost of the problems that you have.
And see what the fund balances are and what they actually
Exactly.
need to operate, et cetera. So
Yeah.
there could be pockets of money out there. And I assume that if I take both of the mayor-president candidates at their word, that's a hazardous
Mhm.
thought. But anyway, taking them both at their word, that they don't want to raise taxes.
Yeah.
So if they don't want to raise taxes, they're going to have to find the money somewhere, which tells me that they're going to have to really take a hard look at all the current budgets and
Yeah.
the funds and the pockets of money here, there, and everywhere, millages, et cetera.
Well, and this is a question I have, and I've always asked it at every council meeting that I've been able to attend is, why is there not a separate budget document with City of Lafayette only in it and a separate budget document with parish only in it? Because now you're going to get the mixed document. How are you going to decipher from that mixed document
Yeah.
where's what? So there should be a separate city-only city document, and it shows the transfer of funds from the city to the parish.
Okay.
And the same thing with the parish document. It'll show any funds that are transferred from the parish to the city and what departments and what they're
Yeah,
used for.
paying for whatever services they
Exactly.
get. Okay.
But you're adopting a single budget, which is going to be the big, thick document. And I don't know if you ever tried to read it. I can read them. But if you're just a
I
lay
know.
person, you can get lost easy.
No,
We got a call?
I was an English major. I didn't like math.
I'm an
I didn't-
architect. I like
I know, you
like
like that
math and
stuff.
English. I'll show you
All
some
right.
good English stuff.
All right, Karen, go ahead.
ahead.
You're on the Ross Report.
Sorry to call again. Y'all made me think of something. Okay, so is the parish going to meet in the city courthouse? What about all the assets that are co-owned? Do we have to pay them back? If the parish meets in the city auditorium, do they pay rent to the city for using that building? I mean, they're paying their share of the employees when they work
Karen.
on parish time and all of that, right?
Karen, you're talking Andy's
Karen, kick
language.
that can down the road, Karen. Kick that can down the road. Yeah, that's going to be the question: is how are they going to fund the facilities,
the actual operations.
And
Yeah.
they're,
What about all those big trucks we bought?
well, yeah,
who did they
the
go to?
parish pays rent. The parish rents those when they use them, supposedly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're
Okay.
supposed to have a line item budget that shows that they pay a percentage of the cost or whatever it is. It's like you open up, you have all the assets of the rental business, to rent to the parish. And we thank you for paying for all that and keeping it maintained for us. And we'll just use it when we need it.
So basically, what was really consolidated, and the only thing that was really consolidated, was Public Works.
No, the only thing that was really consolidated was the elected officials. That's it.
That's it.
Exactly.
Just
Nothing
just the
else.
legislative
Exactly.
body.
Just so elected
Could that have
officials.
accounted for the $5 million that they said they were going to save, like
Yeah, and
parish
the
president
yeah,
and the elected
yeah,
body?
that was their elected officials' cost.
That was it.
Thank
all right,
y'all.
all right, Karen.
Thank you,
Okay,
Karen.
bye.
You got to have a sense of humor. Even if it's a gallows sense of humor, you got to
Yeah.
have a sense of humor. All right, we're going to take a break, and then Jerry will get to you as soon as we come back, okay? Don't go away. 232-1542. In studio with Andy Hebert, talking all things charter. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the Ross Report. So, Andy, if they wanted to hire you to come in and tell them what the heck, how they have to do this thing, will
can
you do it
travel.
for less than CSRS?
I can travel.
I'm expecting them to hire somebody like CSRS. That's their usual go-to bunch.
Yeah.
500K here, 500K there. Hey.
Mhm.
But anyway, this and I think the transition team, I think, really has a job ahead of them.
Definitely.
And they have to hear from the head of the departments, but the head of the departments have to have clear-cut guidelines how this is going to roll out. They can't just make this up as they go. I think that there are going to be some serious a lot of serious issues that maybe we haven't even anticipated
Yeah.
as it rolls out.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping that you will stay in touch and
Yeah.
all
Oh,
that.
I'm available. I can travel, and
I doubt that they're going to
it's
want to admit that they made a giant
no.
mistake.
Well, and again, my heart is in this area
I know
a
that.
lot,
I know that. You still have family
and
here.
I
You
still
have,
have a grandson buried here. So
yeah,
there's things that keep me here. That
exactly.
and it's a great community, and they're great people here.
You bet.
And I
And I'm
think
counting on the people to help think our way out of this
yeah, there's
mess.
solutions to the problem. It's
Yeah.
just a matter of getting together and talking about them and finding out what is the best thing for everybody, not just some
Yeah,
people.
we're talking about, I look at what happened with Plan Lafayette and the Unified Development Code, and to me, they have been suppressants
Yeah. Oh
to
yeah.
economic development within the area where they are functional. Now,
Their jurisdiction.
they're
Right.
jurisdictional
Mm-hmm.
in the city of Lafayette and the unincorporated area.
Right.
They don't. I mean, when you ask some of the other elected officials out in some
Mm-hmm.
of the smaller towns, do you have a unified development code? They just kind of
Yeah.
laugh.
Well, they can follow it if they want to, but they
Right.
can also repeal any part of it they
Right.
can.
But it's
So,
way too complex. It is
oh yeah.
way too complex. It's
Mm-hmm.
bureaucratic overreach. There are
Yeah.
things in there that really, it's just too much. It's
Yeah.
too much. You give guidelines to people, and
Well,
we did have some decent subdivision regulations and
yeah.
sign regulations
Yeah.
and landscape
Mm-hmm.
regulations,
Mm-hmm.
etc.
Before.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, they paid the consultants to come up with this great new
Yeah,
plan
like
for.
1.2 million and now another 200,000. I don't know what happened with that. I hope Robideau, I hope our mayor president vetoed that
Yeah.
because that's just throwing
Mm-hmm.
good money after bad, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
Well.
All right, now tell me what you're doing because you're doing some interesting stuff
Oh.
in your adopted hometown of Wilmington, North Carolina,
Yeah. Yes.
uh, including something called polar freeze. Now,
Yeah.
because you're an architect and a
Yes.
climate scientist,
Mm-hmm.
etc.,
Yeah.
on top of all this, so
Yeah.
talk about that a little bit
Well,
because I think that's an interesting project.
as an architect, we design, Earth spaceships basically that have to deal with the climate and how humans relate to it. So, uh, when we do environmental design work, a lot of the public doesn't understand some of the principles like hot air rises, cold air sinks, thermodynamics. So, what I try to do is introduce kids and students and parents and adults to the climate that we live in. And the polar freeze is based on an old fashioned game of hopscotch, except I put the compass directions on it. So the kids have to orient it north, south, east, west. So when they play hopscotch, they actually learn the sun rises to your right when you're facing north.
Yeah,
So
right.
you're learning in a play. And then the numbers are actually the latitudes of the earth. So they learn some geography. So the story goes, and I'll give you a little quick story of it. The story goes that Jack Frost sent a letter to his southern cousin, Jacques Defrost, to teach kids about the climate. So as they climb the latitude ladder to visit Jack at the North Pole, they perform thermodynamics. Hot air rises, raise your hands. 20 degrees, air rises, pressure's low. Raise your hands, spin counterclockwise, stoop low. And as we perform, we also ask the kids to show me examples of this. Where does hot air rise? Well,
So it's
smoke
like they're moving
rises.
their bodies too. It's
Yeah,
like
they're actually
exercise.
physically exercising and learning thermodynamics because we're thermodynamic people. And I'll give you an example in a minute. Once they reach the North Pole, Jack says it's cold, so they all get a polar cap to wear, which is an old-fashioned paper hat made out of newspapers. So it's nothing. It's not technological. It is basics. And then they play the polar freeze where they circle around the hopscotch like the Earth circles around the sun clockwise. And when Jacques says freeze, if you're above the Arctic Circle, you're frozen with Jack. You're out the game. You land east to west, you get one defrost pass. South, you get two. Last one not frozen gets the winner's ribbon in his polar cap. And so they
Sounds like a
learn.
great game.
Oh, it's great. And I've performed it at several of the Earth events around. And I also make the parents play with the kids. And it's funny because some of the parents come up and say, oh, I didn't know half of this stuff.
Exactly.
So but it's a way to get educated.
All right. The other thing that you're doing, the economics of education. I love this.
Oh, yeah.
Acquired return on intelligence.
Right. ROI. In business, you talk about ROI. You talk about how things work in business. And
Return on investment. In this case, it's
exactly
return
on
on
intelligence.
intelligence.
And how do you get return on intelligence? And as an adjunct teacher at the university a couple of years, I went in there and said, first of all, I'm not your teacher, I'm your employer. So object of my course is going to get the highest pay raise by the end of the year. You're late for work, I dock your pay. You turn in your work late, I dock your pay. Just like you're in business. So as seniors in high school, I would love to see that taught, so they get some business ethics
Right.
when they
Even if
go.
they're not going on to
Even if they're
college
not going to
or
college, they
yeah.
learn how business works. And one of the things that I was never a good memorizer, so I was always a BC student. So one of the things I did in course was to say, hey, first 45 minutes you answer in ink, last 15 minutes you answer pencils, open book. I'll give you half credit. Because in business, if you don't know the skill, you're given the opportunity to learn the
To
skill
learn it or look it up
or
or
look it
figure
up
it
or
out.
find out
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
So this is a way for them to train to be in that business sense. And
What
I would
kind
give them a number grade.
Uh-huh.
And of course, I put a dollar sign in front of the number grade because now they see the economic value of that education.
What kind of response did you get
Oh,
when you did this?
the teachers, I mean, some of them said, this is great. This is a good way to teach the kids and show them the business community.
Realistically.
Realistically, yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the things I did with my kids was I would take them out for a business birthday lunch. And we would, as a businessman, I would take them to the places I would go to lunch to meet the business people around. So it was a birthday present. So they learned a little bit about the business of living life and how to make money and how to communicate with people. So it's a great way to teach kids that, you're not always going to be, and you're not always going to make a lot of money, but you can learn to make a lot of money,
Yeah.
or you can learn to be successful.
Very clever.
That's one of the fun things that I do.
All right,
you know,
Andy. Well,
and,
I'm so glad you're in town. You're doing something in New Orleans, right? You're
Yeah.
doing this STEM education in New
Yeah,
Orleans.
the Saints and the Pelicans sponsor what is called STEM NOLA, where they have people come in and do their presentations of environmental games and science, technology, engineering, and math, and they
That's
get to do
awesome. So the
that.
Saints and the
So,
Pelicans are sponsoring Andy Hebert's
yeah,
program.
well, they're allowing me to go present to
Oh, they're
the
allowing you to
public,
go
so
present.
it's a volunteer thing.
Yeah, that's
And
great.
last year, the hopscotch game was pretty much fun. We do what is called the American Military Honors Flyover, which is where we show the kids how to make a paper airplane, and we tell them when the American flag comes by during the parade to have a military flyover and fly the aircraft over the parade.
Oh man, that's awesome.
So it's a way to
That's great stuff.
salute the kids, and
Yeah.
it's fun because they never made paper airplanes. So it's like, well, y'all never did this when y'all were
Yeah,
kids,
right.
and so they
They're
learn.
so busy playing on the computers and calculating
And
all that kind of
yeah.
stuff. You have a caller,
You have a caller?
Caitlin. Who's that? All right, Jerry. Okay, Jerry has a question. Go ahead,
Okay.
Jerry. Hey,
Yeah, how you doing?
doing good, Jerry. How are you?
Oh, a lot better after this election just passed.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
my question is, I hear a lot of rumors going around in the past whenever they consolidated that the parish didn't have hardly any equipment or was dilapidated. I happen to know some people that retired with the parish whenever that all happened, and that's opposite of the truth. They had parish barns all over the place in all these municipalities, and they took care of their own. They never had to go to vote to clean out a ditch. They just did it. If you needed help with a ditch or whatever, or some gravel or a driveway getting off of the right of way into the property,
Right.
they took care of stuff like that. Now, they consolidated. They take all of these equipment, even though this is a long time ago. It leaves us in a pretty, I guess that's my question. It leaves us in a situation where we're kind of fending for ourselves. But at the time, the city needed us more than we needed them.
Yeah, maybe so. I don't know. I don't know about that, Jerry. But anyway, it's such a complex issue. But there was equipment, right? The parish barns did have equipment.
Yeah, the parish barns did have equipment.
Yeah.
And the question now is do they still have enough equipment, or
Yeah.
did they maintain their equipment, with the economic situation you have now with the taxes of the parish declining,
Yeah.
the
Okay.
sales tax declining?
Good question, Jerry. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Lewis,
Well, that's-
go ahead. You're on the Ross Report. Hey, Lewis.
Hey, Carol.
Hey.
How you doing, Andy? Lewis Pro.
Hey, Lewis, how you doing, man?
Oh, it's been a while. I haven't seen you in a bit.
Yeah.
I'm glad you got elected, and hopefully you can bring some. It's a.
No, this is not Andy
ability that-
Nakan.
This is not Andy
Andy
Nakan. This is
Hebert.
Andy
But
Hebert.
But we're happy about Andy
I'm sorry.
Nakan being.
But I still know you, Andy.
No problem.
But I just wanted to say, hopefully you can bring something that's in short supply, and that's called common sense. Because right now we're floating away from common sense, and it's really sad to see. And hopefully we can get some of it back in play. So I wish you the best.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank-
I think the community, people are awakening now and starting to realize, things need to be done that will help everyone, not just a select few.
Yes, and that's what we're hoping for. Andy, thanks so much for your time. We're gonna take our final break. We'll come back and wrap up this program, but we really appreciate you coming in, Andy,
Thank you, Carol.
and sharing
Glad
your
to-
thoughts with us. And as this moves forward, we may have, in fact, I'm positive we're going to have some more questions. So we're going to stay in touch with Andy Hebert. Thanks again for coming in, Andy.
Thank you, Carol.
Take
Appreciate
care.
it.
Good luck.